Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So today we will start with the new chapter, that is the overcurrent protection of the transmission line. So we can start. Now we'll discuss with this overcurrent protection of transmission lines. Is it visible?
Yes, sir.
So we will have the overcurrent protection of the transmission line. Now, as you know, the fact that the most obvious effect of any fault, that is shunt fault, so most obvious effect of this shunt fault is the sudden buildup of the current. सो जब भी करंट इंक्रीज होती है हम ये कह सकते हैं जब अब्रप्टली इंक्रीज होती है सो वी कैन से दैट द फॉल्ट हैज अकर्ड सो you can say that it is not only the nature this natural that the magnitude of the current can be utilized as the positive indication of the fault, that is magnitude of the current is used as the positive indication of the fault. So for this, since this current is obvious that with increase in the current, the fault is there in the system. So the overall current protection is most widely used form of the protection. So overcurrent protection is actually the most widely used form of protection. And in many of the cases, it is only the protection that is provided. In many of the cases, it is only the protection that is provided. However, if we have to see that which type of protection it is. So in many of the equipments, you can say that overcurrent protection ही सिर्फ provide कराई जाती है. So this type of protection, which depends on the magnitude of the current, without taking into consideration its phase angle, it is known as the non-directional overcurrent protection. So if we take into consideration the current without taking into consideration the direction, then this type of protection is known as the non-directional overcurrent protection. So it is known as the non-directional overcurrent protection. So it is known as the non-directional overcurrent protection. However, in certain cases, what is required? In certain cases, it is required to discriminate between the fault. In certain cases, it is required to discriminate between the faults which are in front of the breaker and back of the breaker. That is, this is in front of the breaker and back of the breaker. So we want the discrimination between the faults in front of the breaker and back of the breaker. So we want the discrimination between the fault in front and behind the breaker. So this is possible only if we take into consideration the magnitude of the fault current as well as the phase angle of the fault current. So this is possible if we take into consideration the magnitude as well as the this phase of the fault current. So that we have to take into consideration the magnitude and the phase of the fault current, that is the magnitude of the current and the this magnitude of voltage and phase angle of current with respect to the voltage at the relay location. So this type of protection is known as the directional overcurrent protection. So this is known as the directional overcurrent protection. So if you take into consideration this directional overcurrent protection, it has the greater selectivity than the non-directional overcurrent protection. That is, selectivity is more as compared to the non-directional overcurrent protection. So, and we must not forget that any type of protection is the concept, then it needs to be implemented, and the vehicle of implementation is actually the relay. So, it is a concept, and any type of protection we want to that is implement, it can be implemented only with the help of the relay. So now historically, if you see, fuses were used for the overcurrent protection, or you can say it has the capability of the overcurrent protection. So let's have a quick this introduction about what the fuse is all about and how it works. So you must be knowing that what is the fuse. So fuses, these are actually the oldest protective devices. You can say that these are the oldest protective devices. These are the oldest protective devices which are still used in the present times. And these are actually very simple devices. You can say that this is a very simple device. So what is the main idea of the fuse? The main idea of the fuse, it allows the normal current to flow through it. It allows the normal current to flow through it, and but melts when the or breaks the circuit when the exceed then when the current exceeds the certain magnitude, but melts and breaks the circuit when current exceeds certain magnitude for a certain amount of time. So it allows the normal current to flow through it and melts and breaks the circuit when the current exceeds the certain magnitude and certain for a certain amount of time. So this fuse, if you can see, the fuse has the function of sensing, comparing, and interrupting. It has the function of sensing, comparing, and interrupting. So it has the function of sensing, comparing, and interrupting the current into one. So if you take the case of a high rupturing capacity fuse that is used, I will draw a diagram for you so that you can have the. So so this is HRC fuse, that is external appearance of the HRC fuse, that is high rupturing capacity fuse. Now, if you want to draw the current time characteristics of the fuse, it is given by, here we have fusing time, here we have the current, so this is the rated current, so what it signifies that as the current increases, the fusing time will be reduced. So this waveform, this is the short circuit current interrupted by the fuse. This waveform shows the short circuit, that is, you can say, the current which is interrupted by the uh, fuse. Now, this is the time current characteristics, and if you want to this draw this current that is interrupted, that here we will have the this is the normal current, this is the normal current, let it be denoted by IN. Then in that very case, this is the fault current, IF. Then this is the instant of, I have to draw the instant of interruption also. At this, fault current is interrupted. So here it is interrupted. This is the instant of interruption. So it is actually, this is the normal current, this is the fault current. That is, you can say that this fault current would be there if it is not this, the, you can say that this is not interrupted, the circuit is not interrupted. And this is the, if the circuit is interrupted, then this is the instant of the interruption. So this is actually the short circuit current interrupted by the fuse. This is actually the short circuit current that is interrupted by the this fuse, and this is the time current characteristics of the fuse. So this is about the fuse. We can have the detailed discussion of this, what it is all about. Now, first, before going to the detail of some of this different type of fuses and all that, so let's have the sources. What are the different sources of the fault current? What are the different sources of the fault current? Now, let us consider a radial distribution system with a single source. If we consider a radial distribution system with a single source, radial distribution system with a single source, then fault current depends on, that is, fault current is a function of first is the contribution of the source. That is the source voltage and impedance. Then you have the transformer impedance. Then you will have the motor this contribution. That is, you can have the back EMF and impedance of induction and synchronous motors. And it is also, this fault current is also the function of the distance of fault from the source. Distance of the fault from the source. Now, this is about the, if you take the case of the fault current, this is not specific to this radial distribution system. It is applicable to every system. That is, the fault current depends upon the contribution of the source, then transformer impedance, motor contribution, then distance of fault from the source. Now, first step of the, you can say that if you want to find in the overcurrent protection, if you want to the overcurrent protection, the first step of that overcurrent protection is the estimation of fault current. So the first step of overcurrent protection is the estimation of fault current. So first step is that. Now, if the system is radial, let us suppose the system is having a single source. If the system is radial, then for a radial system, you can say that that is fed from one source only. The job is simplified. It's very simple to calculate. So the job is very much simplified, and that is because it is fed from only single source. And for conservative calculation, if you want to make the calculation, and for the conservative calculation, you can say what you can do, utility source impedance, that is ZS, utility source impedance should be considered as 0. Should be equal to 0, that is unlimited MVA supplying capacity. So we have the source impedance equals to 0. Now, what is the reason why we are considering that? Why we are considering that there is 0? Why we are assuming that? We are assuming that the reason for this is that changes in the utility system, that is the addition of generators, strengthening of transmission network, can reduce the source impedance, because everything is connected in parallel. So it definitely it will reduce the source impedance. And during the fault, for the conservative calculation, we are considering this as 0. So now, since we are considering the source impedance as 0, so you can say the maximum fault current is limited by the maximum fault current, like the contribution of source impedance. So we have neglected that. We have taken that assumption. So you can say that maximum fault current is limited by the impedance of the distribution transformer. So the maximum fault current is limited by the maximum fault current is actually limited by the impedance of the distribution transformer. It is limited by the impedance of the distribution transformer. And in a single source radial system, if you can say, if we consider a single source radial system, then in that very case, what happens? A fault current reduces if we are moving away from the source. So, fault current is reducing when we are moving away from the source, because when we are moving away from the source, what happens? The impedance of that is included in that, because we have the voltage divided by the Z, total Z. Since when we are moving here, so impedance is, you can say that it is increasing. So the fault current is reduced in that very case. So as fault current reduces as we move away from the source. So the transformer short circuit current, if you take the case of a transformer short circuit current, it is given by the formula. It is given by ISC is equals to transformer full load current into 100 divided by percentage impedance, that is Z. So any motor, like if you take the case of induction motor, synchronous condenser, or the motor, it must be considered as a source for calculating the fault current in first few cycles. So any motor, induction or synchronous motor, or any kind of the motor, it is any kind of motor, you can say, it must be considered as a source for calculating the fault current in the first few cycles. Now, for the sake of simplicity and because of its large usage, we consider only the induction motor low. So while calculating the short circuit current, what we do, there is a common practice of, you can say, that lump all the motors that are grouped together. So we have to lump all the motors that are connected together. You can say that they are treated as if they are on a common bus. So assuming a group of group motors of transient reactance of 25%, the typical contribution is 4 times the full load current. So this is about that, what is the fault current and on which it depends. So it is so what is the source of the fault current? You can say that what is the source of the fault current? And analyze in terms of radial distribution system. So we have to discuss in terms of the radial distribution system. That is, in radial distribution system, it is the contribution of this transformer impedance which plays its part, because what we have assumed, we are assuming the source impedance is equals to 0 in that very case. And one more point is that the maximum of the fault current goes on decreasing as we are, you can say that as we are moving away from the source, and the short circuit current is given by the this transformer short circuit current is transformer full load current into 100 divided by Z. Now, as you know that the terminology fuse does not require any introduction. So a fuse refers to a device that opens a circuit with the fusible part, which is heated, and it actually breaks the circuit whenever required. Now, this fusible part, if you take the case of this fusible part in a circuit, this fusible part is also known as the element. This is also known as the element. So when the current flows in a fuse, the heat is generated and the temperature rises. That we have already discussed, that the heat is produced, and as a result, the circuit is isolated because of that. Now, that is if the current must be large enough as per our determined value, the current must be large enough, and it will lead to the fuse element to melt before the this steady state, and it will break the circuit. And sometimes what happens during when the fuse melts, the arcing would be there. So arcing would be there when the fuse melts. Then we have arcing is struck because of that. Arcing is there, and the fault current will be interrupted when the arc is deionized. Fault current is interrupted when arc is deionized. That is, it does not restrike. That is, it does not restrike. That is, so as you already know that the fuse operation involves the melting and the current interruption. Now, the variety of fuses are available nowadays. If you go to market and want to purchase some fuse, then a variety of fuses are available. In terms of quantity, fuses outnumber any other protection devices, if you can say. So they provide the economy in protection as well as flexibility in rating. That is, it provides economy in protection and flexibility in rating. And flexibility in rating, and time current characteristic, flexibility in time current characteristics also. So these fuses are actually used for the overcurrent protection of transformers. These are used for the overcurrent protection of transformers. These are used as the overcurrent protection of transformers, capacitors, and taps in distribution system. So these are generally used for the protection of transformers and the capacitor. Now, if we can draw the location of fuses in, let us take an example of distribution system, and we can draw the location of the fuses in that very distribution system, like let us suppose that we have the one utility source, then after that we have a transformer, we have a breaker, then after that we will have fuse here, then we have one more fuse, then after that we will have transformer, fuse, again fuse here, now let us consider this as this is actually the example of the location of fuses in a distribution circuit. We have here, we have the utility source. So each transformer and capacitor bank, if you can say, has fuse protection to selectively disconnect the device in case of the fault is there in the system. Like if you see, here we have the fuse and here we will have this fuse. So you can say that each transformer bank and the capacitor bank has the fuse as a protection to disconnect the device in case of the fault is there in the system. This transformer fuses can also be provided for the overload protection. So the fuses can also be provided for the overload protection and sectionalizing fuses. Sometimes we have used the sectionalizing fuses. Like if you see, this is a sectionalized fuse. Sometimes we have used the sectionalizing fuse to divide the system into smaller sections, which can then be isolated from the rest of system. Like this is the sectionalizing fuse, then this is the sectionalizing fuse if we want to disconnect that. So these are used to divide the system into smaller sections, which then can be isolated from the rest of the system. Let us suppose that this is also the sectionalizing fuse. What happens that let us suppose that fault occurs within the system. So it can it is the responsibility of this sectionalizing fuse to disconnect the whole of the system. That is the only we have to make sure that the minimum interruption would be there. However, sectionalizing switches are actually used, and these fuses are used to divide the system into smaller sections, which can then be isolated from the rest of the system. Like let us suppose that if the interruption is in the system, then in that very case we make sure that the interruption to any service that is provided, to any supply that is provided, it should be to the consumer, that should be minimum. So that is about the fuses in case of the distribution system. The next, the fuse characteristics that we can discuss in the next lecture. So any questions related to that?